the financial world in which we are living in, it's changing rapidly. And it does seem like Ripple and XRP is about to play a major role in that transformation. When you go through all these documents, it kind of gives you a clarity that it has been the same from a long time. Just we didn't get this much clarity, but if you go back in time and look for the data, it always has been the same. The guys who are running the payment infrastructure of the world, were already working on this. They were already talking about this. When NASDAQ came out educating us about what's XRP, we should have understood that there is something working. There is something happening. When the World Economic Forum gave you the understanding of what Ripple is doing and what technology they're using to transform the world of payments, it kind of gave that idea that they are all preparing for something. So that attractive move is coming in. The only question is, are we all aware of that, and can we really wait for the price action to take on that reality? Welcome to the Scientific Investor family, where the normal retail guys get to learn how to become the next top 10% of this world. Right now, the news is great, especially when we actually look at this and say like, okay, Russia is confirming that they are about to create gold-backed currency. And the main point here is not just BRICS is going to do that, but it's actually going to do that right now. They are talking about a go in the August, which is actually a huge thing when you go back and look at this. It is now clear that these guys are talking certainly about a huge shift in the marketplace. And that shift is not new. That's what's more important, because if you actually go back into the World Bank documents, they've already talked about using XRP for the settlement of cross-border payments. Now, we know that, how they plan to use it. But what's the difference right now? Because we go back to 2012, we see the outline. We go back to 2015, 2018, we get the idea of how RippleNet has been moving into different regions, especially into India. We saw how big banks started adopting RippleNet. Now we are watching that the same exact technology is being used for central bank digital currency rollouts. This is creating a new landscape where Ripple is actually taking on not the US, but the Asia, the Middle East, the Latin America side of this. And it is especially great to watch right now that BRICS is not just the 3-4 countries which it used to be. Right now, tons of countries are actually entering into that area, especially when we say 46 countries in BRICS. That's a big thing, because they are going to make gold-backed currency. And if you actually look at it on the reality, you'll understand most of the Western nations, they don't actually have a lot of gold. Yes, US have it. Yes, Germany, kind of a couple of countries has that. But if you really want to actually back your currencies with gold, there are not enough nations who actually have that. And there are some Western countries who produce gold, but they don't hold gold. Right? So there is some issues in the financial system on the Western side of things. And right now, BRICS is taking it head on, saying we don't want a debt-based system, which means the value will be based on asset, and it will be moved and settled readily. That's what we are talking about. This movement is about the real value movement. And that's where the adoption, the partnership, and everything for Ripple, the company, comes in. And Jim actually gives us a clear thought process here, saying, I think the US dollar hegemony will collapse. And he's actually talking about that happening in August. And now we actually see, okay, now this guy actually told that a month back, but right now we got the news that, yeah, that's more or less likely to be true. Because if you see Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, and a lot of other countries entering into this room, now you understand that the leadership in the US has failed. And if dollar drops as the reserve currency of the world, why would all these countries hold on to dollar? So that creates another set of issues. So which asset would you actually hold on for your transactions? That's a huge weapon if you actually think in like that way. Right now they are holding dollar to do all these transactions, and as soon as they understand we don't need dollar, we are actually going to use something else, which is an interoperable layer of movement. We can actually use that, and they are actually talking about this. XRP may or may not actually have a technical expertise to actually do this in that different scenario, but right now you understand that this is actually creating a little bit of issues. But if we actually look at this on the clear perspective, this uncertainty related to XRP only exists in the US. And that is why when we say the actual potential of revolutionizing the banking industry is happening. Now, do we have clear crystal proof about this? No, but we have actually seen everything leading up to this, giving us that clear narrative. Now, if it doesn't have any value, World Bank would not actually spend time on learning what XRP is, how the system works, how it actually goes through, and they never give you the idea that this asset has been designed as an appreciating asset. They give you just that, meaning total supply of XRP decreases over time and in theory maintains its value. So the value should not actually drop. So the market cycle, you actually see the price action going up and down. That's because right now the speculative movement is higher, and that's not going to go away for sure. And that's one of the reasons why they're limiting the US users with this lawsuit for sure. The conspiracy, everything comes in. But as soon as you see these big guys going deep diving into XRP, you understand there is something more to this. And if this is true, in a month or two, we will actually see how things are evolving. And if at that time we see massive volume increasing on the XRP ledger, now a lot of the conspiracy theories will start turning true. Right now, you don't actually have much of volume here. It's way lower. So if you actually observe that volume popping 3x, 5x, 10x, now that's something to watch for, because at that time, price would start to react. Right now, we are below a trend line. And if you watch the price getting back into that trend line, that's going to be a bullish signal. What if the price action behaves entirely differently? Right now, yeah, this is the short-term support level we are watching. If that breaks, great, we'll have to look at the next level of support, which would be 0.41. Now, that's not that bad considering where we are right now and where we came from. But this is the microstructure movement of XRP price action. And we already understand the fact that even on a macro like 3-day chart, we are on a positive zone. So once the MACD is in the positive zone, you actually look for buying opportunities. That means all that we have talked in here, the fundamentals, it will actually play in the price. But yeah, we first need to break the 21-day moving average. Let's start with the daily. Once we see that, now we are going to look at what's happening on the weekly. That means we are bouncing off from the weekly 21-day moving average, which is going to bring a lot of bullish momentum. But if that doesn't happen, if we break below that on a weekly, that can create some level of panic. If we go back in history and look at each time when we have actually done that, we would actually see some level of panic entering the market at that time. Whether we fake out, retest and get rejected, or we go below, it actually creates some level of volatility. But if we actually observe the opposite side, you break to the upside, you retest it and then bounce off, that starts a new trend. So if this break and the retest stays healthy and we bounce off, that's a bullish scenario. So right now we are at that verge, at that timing where fundamentals are going through the roof and we are watching this price action here. If we are able to break through, that's going to be massively bullish for this particular asset. Now, at the same time, we can also look at the Bitcoin and say like, okay, if Bitcoin actually manages to break through the 31K level, that would add on further to the bullish stance for sure. That's something positive we would actually like to see. We all like to see that. But the short-term movement on a 4-hour chart gives us the clear idea that, yeah, this particular level acted as a support first, then as a resistance. So most likely this time we are finding that as a resistance. So if we manage to break that to the upside, now we want to actually see what the resistance lines would look like, right? So we need some clarity there. You connect these and you end up watching that we are right now at that resistance. So we have a short-term horizontal resistance. We have a trend line resistance. So if we manage to break this range here, that can be positive. And what would that movement mean for us? Say you actually measure this, and the measured move for Bitcoin, if we break to the upside, shows somewhere close to a 3.2% move. That means the price action, if we break to the upside, can actually go back up, breaking 31,400, close to that range, which is actually bullish because the recent highs which we have made is 31,260. So if we actually get something above that and close at that point, it's going to be great because this is a line chart. You go back on a candlestick chart and you see the local high which we have put recently was close to 31,500. So we need to see a candle close around 31,400 or move about the wick of 31,500. That's going to create exceptionally well designed bullish structure which would literally attract a lot of buyers. But right now we are at a resistance. Usually you don't go bullish at a resistance, but the only point here is it's a short-term resistance. So even if we get rejected, we may actually test the previous support level here. That would still hold as a support level because we are still above that, and it's been acting as a support from a month. Now it's short-term resistance for sure, but if we get rejected, now we have to look for the lower level. So that's the negative side of it. What if this resistance acts as strong resistance and reject the price to the downside? So we actually go on a daily chart and we look for where we are. So the first support would be close to 29,800, which would be the 21-day moving average on a daily. Now we go back on a weekly and we say, okay, if we get rejected, we do have some room to the downside close to 27,000. So different time horizon shows you different things, especially on a macro, the higher time frame structure, when it actually suggests you like, okay, I can still come back somewhere close to 27. Don't reject the possibility of that happening because this level has been a resistance. So until we break above that level, we shouldn't be neglecting the possibility of a fake out to the downside at least before we run to the upside. Now, the easiest way for us to identify that is to go on a short-term level, understand your support resistance, and just plot a resistance for sure. Because at this point, we don't need the support. We're looking at the resistance. If we break that level, yeah, the bulls are strong. We're going to go to the upside. But the question is, where are we right now? Are we close to a support? Are we close to a resistance? We look like it's close to a support point. So if we get rejected here, that's going to be a bad news because this may break. If we break to the upside here, which is a good news, a positive one, we may actually move up. But then we are going to test that level of resistance. At that time, you will see a lot of these assets in the market starting to react. That's why we are actually following them individually one by one, going through all of these assets, giving the clarity about what the hell they are doing right now. Where is the support? Where is the resistance? What's the target? If it's breaking higher, what you should be looking at, all those perspectives. So if you are interested in such, you can look at the Patreon. The link is given in the description below. So guys, if you received value, please do hit that like and subscribe button. I'll meet you guys on the next video. Bye for now.